Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Delcy and I love goats. It's a slightly different setting than normal when I'm talking about my goats. Usually I'm in the goat barn milking and doing something right there with my goats, but it's a hot day today and I found a shady spot. But today I wanted to talk to you about the testing that I had just recently done on my goat's milk. I got the information back, I printed it out, and then I called the company that I used and said, what does this mean? Because most of the numbers, all of the numbers didn't mean anything to me, and it was wonderful that the gal that I talked to was so nice, so helpful, and she explained everything that I had asked, and she just made it a point to make sure that I understood what was going on in this test. So I wanted to just walk this through with you so that if you get your milk tested, that you'll know what it means as well. So in that previous video that I talked about milk testing, I mentioned that in Montana, we are finally legal to sell raw milk. But I think it's really important that we follow all the rules and guidelines and regulations that they have set out for us, even though I am not too in favor of all of the just, I guess, I don't know, the oversight, all the rules and just the control our government wants to have over everything. But since there are laws and since this is a new thing for our state, we don't want it to be messed up by anyone. And I don't want to be the one to mess it up. So I decided that I will do the milk testing because I want to make sure that my milk is safe. And I do want it to be that if anything were ever to come up, I can say, no, I get my milk tested and it is safe. There is nothing wrong with it. So that we can just make sure that it stays legal in Montana. And really, there's a peace of mind in knowing for sure and certain what's going on with your milk. Okay, so let's dig in and figure out what all of this means. There's a bug on my camera. Can you see it? Yeah, there it is, going up. Go away, bug. The first thing is that we had tested the standard plate count. I encourage you to watch that video because I explain how I milked, how I kept it clean, how to take the samples and all of that. And so I won't go into that today. But this test is testing my finished product milk. And so this is the results from that. So the standard plate count came back for mine at 4,500. And I asked her, so what in the world is normal? What does that even mean? That number means nothing to me. You know, are we looking for 0? Or are we looking for a high number or low number or what? And she said that this is very slightly high, but it's not a red flag at all. And the goal is less than 2,500. So mine was 4,500. And she said that to lower that count would be probably to chill the milk faster. And one way to do that is to somehow figure out a bucket that is slightly bigger than my milk bucket, fill it with some ice and a little bit of salt, and as I'm milking, so my milk bucket would be inside of that, and as I'm milking, it would be going into my milking bucket, which is sitting in the ice cold water, which is immediately cooling it off, like immediately. And she said that is probably the best way to get that count lower. And so she said, but that is a good number. It's nothing to be worried about. So next time when I take my test and as we go through the next 2 months of what looks to be really hot weather here, we're not this weather that we've been having, which has been in kind of the steady high 80s and 90 and low 90s, is really hot for our area. There's still that bug. Okay, bye-bye bug. Okay. So our weather has been really hot for our area, and that's not normal. So during these next few months, I need to figure out a way so that I can be milking into something that is cooling it down immediately. And of course, if you get your test back and it's too high, do think about you have to be cleaning better, cleaning your goat's udder better. You need to be making sure that those protocols of keeping your equipment, the goats, your hand, everything that you're doing as clean as possible, and really cleaning up that process. Okay, the next one that they checked was the total coliform. And so it says E is under 15, and she said that looks good. She said that there was less than 15 colonies, and she said, it could have been 3, it could have been 6. There wasn't a specific number that was given, but it was less than 15, and that looks good, and there's nothing to change as far as that goes. So when they get the milk, they're putting them into different petri dishes, I believe, or into something that they can actually watch for the next several days, 1 to 10 days. They can actually watch to see what grows. And in what grows, they can test that specific bacteria or whatever it is, and see exactly what that specific strain is. All right, so that is what was on the first page. Going on to the next page. Okay, so now we go into the SCC, which is the somatic cell count. And for this, there is no gold standard, she said. So the number that I got was 629,000. She said that's normal. Higher, which would be more like in the millions, is not good. And so you want to make sure that that number is low. And really, when they're testing this, like if it were in the millions, that would mean that their white blood cell count is higher, and that means that there's an infection happening. That would potentially be something like mastitis. That would be an indication that there is something going on that you would really need to watch for, that you would need to potentially treat, and they would test that specific bacteria that they found so that you could treat that specific bacteria and get that mastitis under control. So they also test and show the butter fat, the protein, the lactose, and the non-fat solids. And all of what I had, so the butter fat was 5.57, the protein was 3.26, the lactose was 4.42, and the non-fat solids was 8.36. And she said those were normal and good, and they were industry standards. But each one of those things, the butter fat, the protein, all of those are really affected by what you're feeding your goat. And that is why it's important as a milking animal that they're being fed appropriately so that they can support that milking and keep up with that and have a really healthy milk. So just be aware that what you're feeding your animals and what you're feeding your milking goats really does affect the outcome of what's coming out of them. All right, so the next one was the Mycoplasma, and it came in a completely separate report because it actually takes longer to grow. And so it takes about 10 days to grow this, and so I got it in a separate report. But you want a negative report, which is what I got for the final Mycoplasma. It says my final Mycoplasma negative report. So that is good to see that it is negative. So I had gotten the final product tested, but I also had each goat individually tested. Starting out, I wanted to make sure that all was good with each one of my goats. And so I got each one of them tested. And what worried me when I first got this was that it says staphylococcus species on several of them, and one of them said, or I guess two of them said enhanced. And then there was, in parentheses on several of them, it said 30, and then one said 25, and one said 20. And I thought, oh no, what does this mean? Is this bad, or what is going on? But several of them also said no growth. So she said that that staphylococcus species is very common, and that when it had the numbers in parentheses, that those are actually individual colonies that were counted, but that those numbers are very low. So that was very good to see. And when it said enhanced, that means that they did a second reading after several J's just to make sure. And then there was nothing that changed. And so there's nothing contagious in the milk. Wonderful to hear. She said that, if it had said Staph aureus, I think it was. I forgot I was going to look this up. There's another one. I'm going to look it up just a second. Staph. I didn't have her spell it. Yeah, Staph aureus. Oh, I spelled it wrong. Aureus. Okay, so I just looked it up and I learned how to spell it. So Staphylococcus aureus, Aureus, is the major pathogen responsible for intramammary infections in goats, causing severe economic losses in dairy farms, and it can contaminate milk and dairy products, being a source of food poisoning. So you do not want to see on your report Staphylococcus aureus. And I did not see that on this report, thankfully. And so that Staphylococcus that's on here is just very common as far as what was on there, and that is nothing to be worried about. They were very low count. But if you ever do see the Staphylococcus aureus and it's over 500, that is very concerning. If you ever have your milk tested, be on the lookout for that, and you'll want to do something about that. So that's the report right there. That is it. It was 4 pages. And once I called and took all the notes that I did, I understood it, and I'm really thankful that I did this. I did use Udder Health Systems of Idaho. They were very helpful. They were very, very quick. And so I'm very pleased with working with them, and I will continue to use them in the future. So I will need to be doing this testing every 6 months, and so at the beginning of the year, I will do it again, and then I'll do it in the middle of the summer, and then just continue on like that. So we've been drinking our milk all along without any problems, and we've drank it for years without any problems. And when I've had others drink it for years. But now having this test just is relieving, and it might be for you as well, because as somebody mentioned in the comments, I believe it was Melissa mentioned in the comments in my last video about my milk testing. She said, with the Sue Happy world we live in, this might be relieving to have this on hand, to just be able to say, no, I've tested my milk. I know it's safe. And I just think that is something that can give us that sense of peace of mind about all of this, because it's true. We live in a Sue Happy world that is wanting to complain and cause problems about everything, and we don't want that for our families, for our goats, for just that hassle is not worth it. And if anything were to ever come up, I would have these on hand in my goat binder, and I would be able to say, well, I have my reports here, you can look at them. So if a health inspector, or however that works, whoever it would be reported to, and I would have these on hand, and it would help just keep me and my business, my goats, my family all safe. And just having this information on hand is helpful in all aspects. So this might be something that would give you the peace of mind, even if it's not something that's required in your state or your country, and even if it's completely illegal where you live. I've gotten so many emails and comments about how it's illegal where we live, and doing something like this might just be that peace of mind for you. The chicken that's helping. So you might just want to do this and know what your milk is, and how wonderful and how raw and good and delicious and miraculous it really is. So thank you for joining me in this slightly different video format, and thank you for wanting to learn about goats. I love that, and I want to keep learning about goats and all there is to learn about them. It's never ending, and so it's fun to share with you what I'm learning, and I hope that you're able to then take all of this and adapt it to you and use it on your farm with your goats, and we can all just make the world a better place because we have goats. I am so glad I live in a world where there are goats. I hope you're staying cool out there, that you're having a great day, that you're hugging on some goats, and I will see you in that next video. You're not a goat. You're not supposed to be in the video. You need to be quiet when I'm talking. Yeah, don't you dare peck me. Don't peck me. Alright. So, maybe you could baa like a goat. That would be more appropriate. No, that's not baa. That's bucking. Yes, I know.